Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Valerie Hunt, RunRx, Ask Me Anything. So I think we're going to get some more questions coming through, but I like to start by saying the 3 top questions that I've gotten this week. 1, breathing, and maybe because it's summertime also. So the question was, how do I regulate my breathing? And basically it goes back to, I feel like I can do this when I run fast, but I'm having challenging to run at my tempo or regular pace. So I'm going to tie that in with the breathing, with the speed of your run. And then the third question is, it's a very, how did she ask it? I keep feeling like I'm landing on my toes, is how she said it, or pushing off my toes. So we're going to talk about the different parts. How do I pull my foot up and let go of landing? Should really be your thought. Like, I am stuck on landing. Not you, the collective you running community. We have always been thinking so much about where am I putting my foot, and the switching of I need to not worry about that. That's not really my job. My job is simply to pull up. It just starts to switch your mindset about running itself. So, when I first started running, if someone had just said to me, hey, what's the definition of running? I would have been like, put one foot in front of the other. A lot of people still say that. It's not, because if I put one foot in front of the other, then I'm not running, I'm on a tightrope, right? And I'm not trying to be smart alecky, I promise. It's just to understand that the words we use to describe what we're doing are actually an interesting way to start thinking about movement. And when we're going to say, for example, let's say we're going to do a deadlift, which is a very standard exercise movement. So I'm going to deadlift this plate. I'll walk over to it. I'm like, all right, here I go. Woo! Did I bring the weight up? Yes. Is that how probably I should? Probably not, right? So maybe somebody would come over and be like, hey, Valerie, it might be a better idea if maybe you stood with your feet a little bit apart, and make sure your hips are nice and square. Keep that nice line of ears, shoulders, and hips, and then just sit back and down. Pick the plate up, bring it close to you, much better, and then stand straight up. You see, they're like, oh, well, thank you, that's much nicer. Appreciate that. And then the next time I go to pick it up, then maybe I'll think, oh yeah, remember I'm supposed to lead with my legs, pull my stomach. You see what I mean? When we learn a standard of a movement, and we can repeat that standard, and we can have something to compare it to, it's really helpful. So even if I never lifted a weight in my life, everyone knows not to just do this to go pick something up, right? It's really going to put stress on the back. So unfortunately, when we go running, if I'm not following any kind of standard, if I'm just going running, well, how do you run? I don't know, I just go running. Then how do you know what you're doing? A lot of us, it's called mindless moving. So I go running, I put on my my headphones and put my watch on, and I know how far I'm going to go. I know how fast maybe I want to go, but how am I going? I don't know, right? So for many people, say, I put this here to help with thinking. If I'm running by thinking only about I've got to get there, then the tendency is for people to take their foot and push it into the ground. So I'm going to get there onto that green thing by doing that. I'm going to push, and then, you see, I got there. For every action, there's an equal and opposite response. So if I push, hold on, I don't want to hit my face on this barbell here. If I push off my back, I'm going to reach with my front. So if I push off my back foot, my back leg is going to travel back, and to counter that, my front foot has to come forward. So then I made it. I'm on where I wanted to be. I got here, right? But this foot's still behind me. So I cannot travel until this foot catches up. We all run through the pose. So unfortunately then what happens is I pushed off, and I felt it that I got here, but then my hip's gonna have to swing this leg so I can push off this one to go ahead. So then it's almost like you're jumping your run, like you're trying to jump forward. Well, jumping is really high impact, right? I mean, even in place, jumping is high impact. So if I'm trying to jump and then also go forward, that's how they found out with all the research. It's about 3 times your body weight. So but I got there, right? But the problem is I got there with consequences, because now I just landed, but I'm still stuck here. Now, you don't, by the way, when I do gait analysis, I'm looking for everyone to be on and off the ground within what's called 2 frames. Meaning, if you came here onto the bench or on whatever this is by fall pull, watch. I didn't even stay there. You see, I was ready to just get right off. So all of a sudden, I just reduced my impact. What else is going to happen? I'm going to travel more. I'm going to start running more, because instead of sitting here and waiting, by the way, what happens in real life is you really do sit here and wait, but what you're doing is preparing to go. So you think about it, you're running, like I said, by jumping, right? Well, when you run by jumping, most of us aren't able to, one, run as fast as we potentially could because we're staying on the ground too long, but we're using what's called muscular efforts and contractions. So what happens is you're exerting, and absolutely your heart rate goes up, you feel your muscles and joints a little bit more probably, but I call it, for some of us, we're at a heart rate level from exertion of the movement, not from cardiovascular exertion, from running. And it's different. It's really different. So how long can I really do that jump? For a lot of people, they'll start to walk during their run. And this is important, because this is going back to the breathing question. If I'm trying to jump my whole run, am I going to be winded? Yeah, of course I'm going to be winded. You know? I mean, it's jumping. Jumping, 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 right? And I'm very exaggerated, I know that, but it's to understand that that's what you're doing to your body. So even look, got my heart rate up. We could stand here in place and jump, and we're going to get our heart rate up, but are we doing what we want? No. We want to be running. And when you watch people, like the elite athlete runners, right? They're always so smooth. And when you watch their face, they're not like, I mean, unless it's the last quarter, you know, the sprints or something. Let's talk about endurance. And even the sprinters, their face isn't like, I mean, you don't see that, right? So for a lot of us, just so you know, there's a lot of exertion that's happening in your movement that's simply because your body is having to try to do all this extra work here on the ground. And when you start to literally fall and pull and find that you can control your angle of fall, you will start to feel, everyone gets around, if they stick to it, about 10% efficiency in their heart rate. Meaning they start to actually run at longer distances and higher angle of fall or speed, and their heart rate's actually less. Why? Because you increase the efficiency of your movement. When you watch people run that look like they're pretty good at it, we don't see exertion. We know they're working hard, at 100%. My gosh, but they are working in the right way. And so when you run by pulling, fall pull, it's only pulling 2% of your body weight and using 10% active muscle contraction. So it's so cool to know that. And then you're like, that's insane. When I'm running, I feel like I weigh 500 pounds. I'm saying that about myself. There's days when you go running, right? You feel like I feel my weight on the ground. So we have to change your thought of thinking to what's called unweighting. And we do with RunRx, it's called drills. We do drills, breathing drills, running drills, hopping drills, elasticity drills. Why? Because you've got to practice the movement that you're about to do and get more efficient at it. So when you're doing the drills, you're also learning how to regulate your breathing. Because if I don't change anything else, and I just watched one of my videos, and I'm like, okay, Valerie said, do some hops, now run and go, pull, go. And then I just go up, 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 up. My heart rate's gonna go up too, but not really because I was running, but just because I was over pulling. And then I'm using a bunch of active muscle contraction, I'm getting tired. So my heart rate's elevating from fatigue, from true fatigue, like muscular fatigue, joint fatigue. It's not rising because I'm like all of a sudden running a 6-minute mile and I was an 8-minute miler. See what I mean? Then as you start to progress in your running though, guys, and you start to use the fall, and you're learning to relax your movement, meaning you're like, I don't need to pull so high, I just need to fall and pull, you'll realize all of a sudden, oh, I'm just gonna start to release tension out of my run. So your breathing will go down, your heart rate will go down, and then to be fair, you're running, guys, so you should be winded. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be winded. What I want you to do is find a place in your run. How do I release more tension? If I truly can't breathe, then your body's going to stop, right? But if you can stop and keep walking, it's not a cardio issue. It's simply how you are holding yourself. And so for many of you in the very beginning, when I talk about falling, a lot of you guys do this because you think this is falling. This is called a false fall. And two things happen. One, this is 68% of your body weight. It's a lot. So, and the top part is the heaviest, your head. It's like a bowling ball on the top of your head, right? So my hip is having to hold, and in place it's much easier. I'm not moving, but I'm holding this line. Even just standing here, guys, if I just take my head, and I'm gonna credit this to someone in just a second, but if I take my head and just do nothing but lead with your head, just try it. Watch, you see? If I take my head and just let it drop down, my body is gonna respond. Did I go where I wanted? No. Why, you see what I mean? But that just took my body went out of balance. When you're out of balance, you're actually falling. And then what was the response? I started falling, I picked up my feet. The pull is a response to the fall. And by the way, we're all born with it. It's a blueprint for our running. It's really cool. But I want you to understand, we want to hold balance and fall. So if you are falling with your head or your neck, you're not really falling. You're definitely getting out of balance though. And unfortunately, if I'm out of balance, what's going to happen? Instead of pulling my foot up, my foot's going to go back. So I have to understand, just understanding that what is free falling is staying in the same line. This is ears, shoulders, hips, lifted ankle. This line stays the same. And you literally, the whole line falls forward. And you change support. But you don't bend forward or back. So for a lot of you guys in the beginning, if the heart rate's going up, I would say adjust your pose, adjust your fall angle. You know, make sure that you're holding the line. If my head's forward, and I made it drastic, right? This is pretty drastic. But just think that if your head is forward, shoulders are forward, they're ahead of your hips are back, you're out of balance. So that's number one, to adjust. How do I do that? When I'm not running, practice the running pose. Practice being in balance, right? So that I can get out of balance. Practice elasticity hops. Work on that ability to pull the foot up. So the skill stuff that you do will actually take out to your run. That's really important because if you're just trying to feel it by just like not understanding the concept behind it, it makes it hard to then think, what am I supposed to be doing? Does that make sense? Just real quick, I did a podcast with Zero Shoes, Steve Sashin, and he told me that when he talks to people about falling, because it's such a strange concept, he does it with their head, right? Just so they feel that their feet are responding to the movement. And it's crazy because we've been taught so much to try to control our foot strike. So I'm telling you the exact opposite. So you have to kind of feel that sensation, right? So if my breathing's up, what do? You either, if you need to, like, if it's just crazy and you need to stop. But please don't keep walking. Instead, like I said, if my breathing's out of control, first full exhale, release any extra tension. See if you could just still keep pulling in place. Okay, and then restart. If you need to, full stop, but then restart. But understand that it's all about adjusting. You're either bending or you're doing too much footwork. So something else to understand. This goes along with the landing aspect. So if I pull my foot up, I really don't have time to also put it back down. And I know that sounds wild, but it's true because gravity is way faster than us. So even by the time we've thought about pulling, gravity's already, it's just continued its movement. So you have to really, really get comfortable with that mindset of practice that I'm going to pull my foot up from the ground, but I have to allow my lifted foot to land. So what I do is I only think pull. So ready? Pull. And look, the other foot's on the ground. See, I didn't have time to do both. And it's important if I think that and know it. So try that again. We're going to take the foot that's on the ground, we're going to pull it up. 3, 2, 1, pull. Up. Ready? Up. Ready? Up. Ready? Up. Now up quicker. Up, 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 up. I didn't have time to think about anything else but pulling my foot up from the ground. Right? So keep in mind that the drills are just simply to help you feel what is running. Now, was that reality? No. Meaning, when you run, you only have to break contact with the ground in your pull. So you have to understand that. It has to be something I've thought about because it doesn't just happen naturally. Because what do I see? I practice full pull. And when you watch people run, especially like, I don't know if you guys watch, 2 ladies broke the 10,000 meter world record back to back. And when you watch any of those runners that were on that field, man, you watch them, you watch that foot, boy, it's way high. Woo, man. And their range of motion is like out, right? So we're thinking, all right, if I'm gonna run like that too. They're not controlling any of that part. They're pulling. Their foot comes on the ground and they are already off it and on to the next. They have a timing rhythm, up, up, up. I don't know how they count it, but you understand their cadence is a response to their angle of fall. Most runners that run really fast will say, I was holding on. I was holding on. You know what they're holding on to? This part. This is the falling angle. They can pull their feet because, again, they've already figured out that if they take their body slightly ahead, their feet weigh a lot less. They have adapted to that already. We have to think it and then do it because most of us are either here or here, but we're not aware of it. We haven't had years and years of coaching or anybody watching us. The faster people run, higher angle of falls, less deviation from the standard. When you watch a group at the front of a marathon or that 10K, if you watch any of that, don't they all look pretty much the same? The same running. Watch the back of the pack. Free for all. But don't be like that. Be like, I want to control my movement and be efficient. So I'm okay with having to start with simply just feeling what is the running pose, right? I didn't know there was a running pose either. Then you have to practice ears, shoulders, hips, lifted ankle. But it's really simple. The challenge is in like accepting that there's falling and then practicing it because we can practice the pull, right? I can get a metronome, I can practice pulling. And that's what lets go of landing. I don't think anymore about landing because I only think about pulling my foot up. So my mantra is up, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, with a smile and an exhale. Relax, right? When I'm racing, which I don't really race, but I love doing short intervals, I'm not thinking 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking, where am I falling to? Which everyone should think, right? Where am I falling to? So in a sprint, if I'm going on a track, you've got your eyes on where you're falling to, and you literally are responding to that high fall angle. When you have more time to run, you're still thinking, where am I falling to? But now you're going to be out there for a while. You need to have a rhythm, right? Up, 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 2, 3, up, 2, 3. You can use a metronome to set cadence. So starting at 180 to use your own natural muscle elasticity, but don't force it. It's not about staying there for a long period of time. It's about getting a sensation of rhythm. Because if I spend my time dictating the run, I'm not running anymore. If I have a metronome on and I go running, up, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, I'm not running. I'm following a metronome beat. Does that make sense? It's a great drill. Running is free falling, and my cadence needs to be responding to my run. If your foot is landing, if you're like, let's see, I don't really care about how your foot comes down, just to be fair to you. But if your foot's coming out ahead of you, however it goes, heel, side of the foot, front of the foot, on your toes, all of that will go away if you simply think about the correct movement, practice it, and then do it. You see what I mean? I practice hopping for the rebound so that my feet have strength and muscle elasticity, right? When I first started teaching running, I had a lady tell me, all of your runners, their feet are made of pudding because they have been wearing big shoes and they don't jump around. They stopped jumping years ago, and they've been running by using active muscle contraction, not elasticity. So realize that. You've really, for a lot of us, it was me too, running by active muscle contraction versus using more muscle elasticity reduces muscle fatigue 50%. I mean, why not? You know what I mean? And it feels good. Do I want to hop while I run? No. No, I don't want to jump or hop. No, I want to fall and pull my foot. But just so you know, that as that body weight's being directed, when the foot pulls, it's nothing. It's very little effort. What happens to that lifted foot as you're doing like your little whee? You see what just happened? My lifted foot came down and pulled back up, and I wasn't even thinking about it. When you let go of the down part and you're focused only on up, up, the down part happens. You're aware of it. You're responding to it. But because you're not looking for it or thinking about it, it lightens on its own. Does that make sense? I mean, and I say that a lot. It took me a while when I first started learning this to understand the movement behind it, because I was stuck on muscles. I was really stuck on, I heard pull with your hamstring. That's what I heard. So I was like, I'm pulling with my hamstrings. But really, I was just over pulling, and then my hamstrings started to get tired. So you see what I mean? It was a misperception. It was just a miscommunication. So I'll say this. We have on our YouTube channel a free 30-day reboot that just takes you through a progression of skill, strength, and self-care. Allows you to kind of process what it is you're actually trying to do, right? It's not, and again, just so you know, I've so many people over the years that are like, I just thought about falling and I felt lighter and my cadence went up. I think that's incredible, which means they have probably already had a base communication, right, with that, without realizing that's what they were doing, right? Some people you're like, man, how do you run so fast? And they're like, I don't know. I mean, they don't know, they just can't. And then some of us are like, man, why do I feel like I'm wearing a weight vest and I'm not, and I cannot go, right? Well, then we know, because you're not falling. And then once you're falling, in the beginning, you're going to be like, woo, because it feels a little crazy. That also jacks your heart rate up, right? I always tell people for the first week or two of the immersion, when you're in the membership, please don't wear your heart rate monitor, because it might scare you. You've never seen your heart rate go up from running. And in the beginning, you're like, whoa, but I promise you, it's because, again, adaptation's something new. You should be a positive thing. That's how the heart gets stronger. You go up with the heart rate, you let it recover. Go up with the heart rate, let it recover. What you'll start to see is two things. One, recovery time gets shorter, meaning the heart is ready to go in less amount of time. And, of course, the higher heart rate usually will come down as well. So all of that is a side product. It's a benefit. Running faster is a benefit. Running longer, it's a benefit. It's all benefits of learning just simply what is running. That's the best part. So you can go through that reboot. If you're having a tension or pain or something, take the free quiz on our website, runrx.fit, and it'll simply give you a little tip. So maybe you're pushing and you didn't know it. You know what I mean? These are things that I didn't know it either. I didn't even know what it meant. So it's just to help you maybe think about your running a little bit differently, and then of course I'll show you something to help you with that. I'd love to see your run. So we do have a 12-week membership where you come in, you send me your gait analysis, you send in weekly check-ins, we do Zooms, we do live, because once I can actually work with you, I don't have to be physically with you, although I do clinics, and we're having one next Saturday here in Dallas, Texas. It'll be nice and warm, but a lot of fun. But either way, it's like if you could just take that time, if you're really serious about running like forever and ever, because that's the beauty of it, it's the longevity. And now that I've been coaching, specifically the running, for over 20 years, I can truly say that. I've had people with me for that long, and they're still running today. I mean, it's amazing, right? Because so many people, what you hear is, oh, I used to run, but then my knees. Oh, running's bad for your knees. Or I hear this so much, and I'm like, it's not over. You probably never once while you're running thought, am I free falling? Right? So it's a lot of fun to shift first your mindset of running, then your movement of running, and then overall how you're going to feel about your running. So my goal, of course, is always to help people develop their own ability to run so they can continue running. Your own speed, your own distance. Those are fun side byproducts. All right, guys, I'm here every week. Please send questions. I'm always happy to answer. And like I said, I'd love to see you in the membership, but go ahead and check out that reboot or take the quiz. Have a great day.